planning on changing the world just like me. You could be the chairwoman and I'll be the trustee. Let me give all to your benefit. Then I'll get blessed out my deficit.
Welcome back. It's your Corporate IQ. I am your host, Tangiel Johnson.
And I'm your co-host, Lashez Solage.
Lashez, wow, today is super exciting for me. I know I say that a lot, super excited, but I really am super excited. And that is because, first of all, your Corporate IQ podcast is where we're going to discuss, as you know, you listeners know, the pearls and the perils of corporate America with a lens from the people of color and their experience. And today's segment is on listening to the spirit within. And we are with a beautiful soul, Miss India Nicole. And I'm excited about India Nicole joining us today because she brings a wealth of experience, entrepreneur, author, servant leader with 17 years of experience in property management, logistics. She's a creator. She's a co-host of the Fab Chicks podcast. Check that out. And she also has a new podcast called Out the Box Talk with India Nicole. You must give that a listen. You will be blessed, truly. Lashez, India, you know what time it is.
Yes.
Yes, y'all know what time it is. So, audience, y'all know we normally check for hair, we check it for makeup and pearls. Please note, I'm pearlless today. And that is because I'm just going to let it flow and, listen to the spirit within. I see Lashez, though. Lashez, you ready? You ready?
Yes.
Oh, my gosh. Well, before I introduce India formally, I just want all of our listeners to get ready. Let's cue the music. Y'all know we may be lax today, but we're not going out without some Q-tip, high, low, or even open toe. Put your heels on, baby. And before we start, that's right. Get it ready. Before we start, I just got to put out the standard disclaimer that we always do, that the views expressed by your Corporate IQ and our guests today are our own, and they do not reflect the views of any company or organization. Now, on to this fabulous soul, Miss India Nicole. She is truly an impactful leader. As I mentioned, an author, a speaker, CEO of India Nicole Unlimited, LLC. And she is also a seasoned digital marketing and virtual management professional. And, I'd be remiss if I didn't throw in, she's a good cook, too. Let me just throw that in there.
Wow.
She's got some other stuff she can tell you all about on some cupcakes and all of that good stuff. But she basically has a beautiful servant leader mindset and passion for people, which sets her apart. And her light just shines so bright in this marketplace. She is an Atlanta, Georgia native, a mother of 2 teenagers, an innovative thinker, excellent communicator, and she manages projects like no other. I mean, this woman got everything in check. And we got to give it to her, Lashez. There would be no launching of your Corporate IQ without the help of Miss India Nicole. From the logo to the digital marketing. Thank you. We love you.
Thank you. Wonderful
Yes.
work.
Yes. And so with that said, welcome, India.
Oh, thank you for having me, ladies. I appreciate you so much.
Aww. Oh, we're so excited to have you here again. We know India. We're thankful for you and all the work that you've done for your Corporate IQ. We can't even start this podcast without doing that. So thank you, beautiful spirit. And again, all those accolades. Congratulations with 2 podcasts. So welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Ooh, talk about giving you flowers. I receive it all. Thank you, baby.
Awesome. So I'm really excited. We're all excited to hear about your journey to enlightenment. That's what I want to call it. It's your journey to enlightenment, and we want to hear about it. And I want to jump in, share with us, kind of take us back through your corporate experience right before you made that transition to entrepreneurship. Talk about that moment there. I think it's really important to start there.
Yes, absolutely. So, as Tangiel mentioned, I spent about 17 years in property management. And I kind of, after moving out of state for the first time to Charlotte, I kind of entered the market there in property management and was successful in co-managing a property. And then I ended up relocating back to Georgia. And it was like, okay, now what? Because I think property management has run its course. And so I'm really just being mindful about it and prayer about it. And I ended up getting into logistics, global logistics. And I loved my job. It was definitely different from property management. Here I was in this extreme corporate environment. And I'm like, you know what? This is me. I'm loving this. And it's so funny because we have so many plans that in our mind we think, okay, this is it, and we'll plan and map out our way. But those of you who are listening who may be believers of faith like me, you understand that God is ultimately in control. And so I kept hearing this small, still voice in this nudging to resign from my position. And so I'm like, okay, God, but what I'm gonna do? Like, I just got my foot in the door. The money was good. The work was good. I wasn't bringing work home. For the most part, it was a stable work environment. I loved my supervisor. And, God was just like, this is not it. I have something else I need for
Wow.
you to do. And so, ladies, I'm a single mom with 2 teenage children. And I'm pretty sure you all know, being mothers, children are expensive, especially as
Yes.
they get older and bigger and the whole nine. And, I really wrestled with that thing for a while. I was not obedient. And I just was like, okay, God, I hear you. I can still do ministry or whatever it is that you want me to do, but let me keep my job. Last year, at the ending of last year, I ended up getting really sick with COVID, and I was out of work for months, and well, about a month. And during that downtime, it was still just that nudging. It's time to leave. It's time to move. It's time to go. And so I ended up not listening. First day back on the job was literally January 5th of 2022. I worked that full day, got off of work. On my way home, I was in a horrific car accident. Like, I was hit like 5 times on 285 on the highway.
Oh, wow.
And when I tell you the impact of this car accident, it was tumultuous. I mean, I had to kick my way out of the car, and in heels and a dress, in corporate attire. Now, my heels were on, but
wow.
And so, during that time, God was really revealing to me, I walked away from that accident, which could have easily been fatal, with probably minor bruises and, scratches. And ultimately, I did end up having some issues with my back. But all in all, I am alive and well. And God confirmed for me, I need you to be obedient in what I'm telling you to do. And so shortly after that, I made the very difficult decision to resign. I wrote out my resignation. I gave it to my supervisor, and she was like, "Are you sure?" And I said, "I am." And it's so remarkable because God even used me to minister to her in that situation, to give her a word. And I remember telling her, God has so much more for you. This is not your end all be all. And I ended up leaving, and some months later, she resigned. And it's so funny because now we have the Fab Chicks podcast. We partner together, and my boss now is a friend, and we do a podcast together.
Wow.
Wow. That's incredible. It's incredible. I love that you mentioned that you weren't listening. I love that you mentioned that, and you said that outwardly to all of us. Hey, I wasn't listening. And so it took something else completely, like, just massive, for you to stop and listen. So I love that part. I caught on to that. I think it's important for us to understand how listening from within helped to facilitate your transition to entrepreneurship. Because as we talk about in corporate IQ, we're always talking about the navigation in a corporate space or to and from, and navigating from a corporate space to entrepreneurship. And typically that transition or that facilitation is different. So I want to make sure we understand here that that transition is spiritual in this case. And so we want to make it
Yeah.
clear how you transition really from that corporate experience in which you experienced there and how it wasn't quite right, and maybe spend a little bit more time on that, how you really felt that a corporate space wasn't right, and then how that spiritual facilitation, how that light from within allowed you to transition on out into your own thing and step out and feel comfortable and feel comfortable with stepping out into entrepreneurship.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, throughout the years, it was almost like I was trying to find my place, within the marketplace. And I can remember for years, kind of like how you're the black sheep of the family. I felt like the black sheep of the office. Like I was always optimistic, positive attitude, the encourager. But a lot of the times, people would use my ideals, and I would be overlooked. And, now in hindsight, I see that was not by happenstance. Had I accomplished the things that I wanted to accomplish, I wouldn't be standing or sitting before you ladies with India Nicole Unlimited, because I would have been so engulfed in what I was doing for a corporation, for someone else, And so I'm not knocking corporate America by all means. I love the structure that corporate offers. I love the consistent of pay that corporate offers,
Don't
but
we all?
listen, the entrepreneurial life is not for everyone, and I'm the first to say that, but it's always kind of been on the inside of me. I grew up around entrepreneurs. My grandmother owned a restaurant in Stone Mountain, Georgia for years. My father owned a limousine service for years that, transitioned into corporate travel. So I had a lot of experience, seeing the ups, the highs and the lows of what it means to own your own business. And so just taking those pearls of wisdom from them, it's helped me on my journey. It's taught me what not to do. Like you won't see me employing a whole bunch of family. Just one, being consistent, and that's really it. But as far as that in between piece, as you said, Lachez, it was difficult. It's still difficult. It's really, I'm on a faith walk. This is a blind faith walk. It's times
Mm,
where I can't necessarily trace God, but I trust him. So because of that, it allows me to continue on every day, optimistic about what it is that I'm doing.
that's
Yes,
awesome. That's awesome. I
it
think that
is.
we talk a lot on your corporate IQ about assessing an environment. So I think that you were able to say that, corporate is not necessarily the environment for me. There's something that's not quite right, something that's not a fit. And I think your spirituality kind of helped you to make that clear. So other people might use some other means, but I think that for you, it really was that spiritual guidance that gave you that navigation tool, right? So I love
Right.
that this is a different approach for our podcast, and for the holidays. It's so perfect to talk about the spiritual side of navigation, and that's how I see it. It's a spiritual side of navigation. We have to navigate, but what means are we using to navigate? And that could be several things. That could be your spiritual guidance. It could be a coach, which reach out to us for coaches for coaching services. But
Yes.
spiritual guidance is important as well, and it helps to get you to that clarity, which seems to be what you've achieved and gotten to.
Yeah.
Lachez,
I
let me
think.
jump in right here really quickly because I wanted to add. Um, so when you are being nudged, people that are out there listening, when you're being nudged, one of the things that I think India did not initially do is take a seat.
Mhm.
Take a seat, do some introspective work, right?
Absolutely.
Right. She's already reflecting, but you also got to do the introspection. And in order to do that, to look within and to hear from within, you got to take a seat. You got to stop moving around, doing this, being here and being there. And I know a little bit of something about this young lady, and she's a giver. So all of us givers tend to act with our hearts first. Oh, somebody over here needs some help. Oh, let me go help over here because we can, and that's how we're designed. That's how we're built. But just a little piece of advice to anybody that's listening. If you, some people say nudge, some people say I feel it in my gut. Anything that's kind of tickling your ear to something else than other than where you are, take a seat
That's
and
right.
just reflect back and pay attention to what's going on around you, what you hear on the radio, what you see on TV, what you heard somebody say that you were thinking about an hour ago, getting some confirmation. These are the things that you need to pay attention to.
Wow, I love it. I love it. What we're talking about here is mindfulness, right? And being
Yes.
still, right? So I think that one of the things I wanted to surface here, and we can't like avoid this. 2023 has been a rough year for so many with all of the layoffs and just uncertainty in the market. It's been a really rough year across the disciplines, regardless of what discipline you're in. It's been a rough year. So I think that again, for the holidays and kind of moving into the new year, it's perfect for us to understand these things. Sometimes it's not about necessarily navigating to the next thing and planning the next step. You have to do those things, but sometimes you have to be still. And
Mhm.
that's what both of you are talking about. Stop and reflect. Be mindful of your environment, mindful of what got you to where you are. Maybe even accept responsibility for some of the things that you might not have done um, the best way, or maybe you can reflect upon that and how you could do something better. Or maybe you did everything the way you were supposed to do it, and you need to just be still and understand what's before you. But being still to kind of reflect back, take a step back from things so that you can move forward, I think is really, really, really important with all that everyone is facing this year and kind of going into 2024 with uncertainty. We really don't know what 2024 will bring, but this year has been, really tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. This isn't the first time we, as a people, have experienced such economic uncertainty. But what I will say, and I'd like to applaud India, is to take a seat, to listen to that inner voice, no matter who you want to call it or what you want to call it. It takes courage.
It is.
Yes.
It takes humility, and
Yes.
those things are really tough
Mhm.
uh, to move through when you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. So I applaud you, India, for your courage and your humility.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
absolutely. And that's what we all need. And I think also what's important here is to not necessarily just react to things because we have a tendency for these, very effective leaders. We're always moving to the next thing. You don't need to react to everything. Sometimes you need to stop.
Mhm.
And I think that that's what you learn. You need to stop and reflect and be still, like we said. Because again, the
Absolutely.
tendency is to go to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing because
Mhm.
someone told you that that's what a successful person does.
Right. Right. Yeah. Absolutely. You're right. It's so funny that you say that, Lachez, because it's almost like God was giving me reminders of just to be still, just to be. And it's something that I talk a lot about on my podcast, which I told this funny story. God moved me to a new house at the top of no, it was yeah, at the top of this year. And the house, it was bird houses and bird feeders everywhere. The mailbox has birds on them, and so I'm this type of person. I say I'm found in nature, not lost. I like to get outside and really just sit and be and just slow everything down and listen to the wind and the birds. And so birds are everywhere around this house that I live in. And so God reminded me of what my purpose is. And I heard it so clear. If the birds in the trees can just wake up and do and be everything that they're designed to do and be, if they're not worried about, oh, am I going to get worms today for my babies, or oh, am I going to have a place to live, they just go, they just fulfill their purpose every day. And so that was what the reminder for me fulfill your purpose every day. Give us this day our daily bread. Stay present enough in that mindfulness so that you are self-aware enough to say, hey, let me do this or let me not do that. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
definitely agree.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love for you to share some tips for the listeners down this path. So things that you've done to restore, to reset, to find that clarity and to find that perspective that you found. What were some of the things that you did to find those things?
For one, therapy. I tell anybody, I love God. I love the word of God. I, grew up in church. I was actually a minister in church in a traditional brick and mortar and kind of stepped away from that. But on my journey, on my faith journey, I've discovered mindfulness. Therapy is one that has helped me, just talking to someone, getting someone else's perspective, as well as, like I said, mindfulness, learning how to really just be still. One of my favorite authors is Eckhart Tolle, and he wrote a book called Stillness Speaks. And so that book really blessed me because I really learned how to tune in to that small, still voice. Some people say, well, I don't hear anything. God is not talking to me. God is always talking. You have to be still enough to hear that small, still voice. And so
Yep.
when you learn how to slow life down, and I know, especially for us women, we have so many things on our plate, whether we're in corporate America, stay at home,
Yes.
it's
Yes.
always something to do. And the mind is just constantly running and moving and planning. And so I've had to really learn how to shut my mind off. And just turn it all the way off. One of the things that I do, that I practice every day, if I see that my thoughts are running away from me, I stop and I say, how we check for our pearls and our heels, I say, all your faculties working, check. Your mind,
Faculty
you're,
check.
you're in good health, check. Or your kids are healthy and thriving and happy, check. What's wrong right now? Nothing. In this present
Um,
moment, nothing is wrong. So I
Mm,
just learned how to give glory and be grateful and stay in gratitude in those moments. And so I used to be a
yes.
big worrier, always worrying about, all this anxiety, worrying about what's going to happen and how I'm going to make this happen. And I learned the art of surrender, how to truly just surrender my thoughts, surrender my plans, my ideals to a higher power. And as a result of that, now I move with infinite wisdom. I move with divine intelligence. I called it Christ consciousness, when you have the mind of Christ and you can operate just on a different dimension. So I don't worry as much, I really don't.
I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna try that in the morning. Do you have your faculties,
Um,
Tangiel?
yeah, do
yes.
you have your faculties? I've never, that's the first time I've heard that, folks. That's the first, we
Yes.
heard it here on your YCIQ podcast. A faculties check. I love that one. I've never heard that before. But yeah,
Yes.
man, you have to check it all. Make sure everything is what it's supposed to be. I think there's a couple of things here and a big concept that or first of all, I want to say that these are universal concepts, right? So regardless of what your religion is or what your religious foundation or spiritual foundation is, these are universal concepts and they work and they can be applied to corporate professionals. In moments like these, in times like these with uncertainty, you have to understand that perhaps there's something beyond you that's at play. And at some point, it's not going to always lend itself to your strategy or your goals or your design or your plan. Those things could be intact. So as you check all of those things and you look back to say, well, what did I do wrong? To understand the why and why is this happening to you, could be explained by these things that you're talking about here, something that's beyond you. And maybe there's something that you're supposed to be learning in this moment that you're not going to learn if you just continuously move.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. I always say that, I used to say, why me? Why is this happening to me? Now I say, why not me? Why not me? This is this is happening obviously so that I can learn a lesson, you know, or learn what not to do. And so when you know better, you do better, whether it be from my own bad decision making or, you know, just
Yes.
lifing, you know what I mean?
Right.
So
Right.
it's one of those things where, you know, like I said, as you said something about the tips, the number one thing I can tell anyone, regardless of what your beliefs are, is having an attitude of gratitude. You know,
Hmm.
I
Yes.
truly live by that. When you
Mm.
stay in gratitude, because oftentimes we have the power to change the trajectory of our life just from our words and what we're thinking. And so when you can slow that down and really change your thoughts and speak the right words into your life and over, you know, the people that you love, you'll see a shift in your life. You really will.
Also I think that it helps you to keep your self-worth intact.
Hmm.
So as you, let's say a layoff or an elimination, and again, back to that why me? Why is this happening? If you think it is you, these are the things that allow you to kind of take a step back and understand that, hey, this is not me. There's something else larger at play here. So I think it's really awesome to talk about these things at this time because there's a lot of people out here that I think that are struggling right now and really struggling to understand why these things are happening to them. And I think
Hmm.
another when you're still, you can also assess or reassess your values as well. So as you're kind of
Yes.
moving and going to the next thing and next thing and next thing, and you're earning more money here and another bonus there and these things, and you're collecting these things, right? So you have this moment now to be still and to understand what are you doing and what are your values? What
Right.
do you actually value now?
Absolutely.
Yes. And to
Absolutely.
be honest, if you're giving all the time, you don't even think about what your values are. You don't think about you because you're too busy pouring outward, not
Mm,
taking that look inside. So I think it is so important to take these tips that India has given us. I'm actually writing them down, India, so that I can start practicing some of these so that because it's a lifelong journey, right? It doesn't
it is.
you don't reach the mountaintop and say you've made it. It's a continual
That's it.
journey
That's it.
um,
Yeah.
of this self care segment that we're talking about and
Yeah.
reflecting, just on the goodness of being still and the
Yes.
introspection that you mentioned. I'm adding in my I'm calling it morning ritual, but it really is going to be me checking my faculties, as you said.
Yes. And
Um,
make sure you add set boundaries and stick to
set
them.
Yes, set the boundaries, and then there's gratitude, right? That you
Oh,
mentioned
yeah.
and spending time in nature. My son is always after me about getting out and let the sun shine on my face and putting my feet in the dirt. He's always telling me, get grounded.
That's
And
it.
so that's something. And that actually requires us to um, do things for ourselves on purpose with
Yes.
intention, right?
Yes.
So just want to throw all that in there for you listeners who might have been trying to write all these little tips down. I just wanted to give it back to you.
Yeah, I mean, goodness. I mean, being still allows you to step back and understand the things that are priorities and things that you weren't doing, right? What about some of the things that you
Yes.
were neglecting when you were on to the next thing, on to the next thing, on to the next thing? What about your health and your wellness? What about exercise? Some of the things that
Right.
you didn't prioritize because it wasn't a part of your checklist.
Yeah.
Amen,
That's
amen, sister. Amen.
I mean,
absolutely.
reflect on those values. I think that's a big thing here at the end of the year, as you're going into next year, as you're searching for work, as you're searching for opportunities, really understand that core values. Like, what is it that you really need? What is it that you really want? And then move
Hmm.
forward that way with a little bit more purpose and
Right.
add some layers to that checklist that we all have and that plan and that map that you've been building, but add some spiritual layers and some values should be the foundation of those things. And with
Right.
being still, you can step away from it to be able to really design that properly.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. I agree. And that's one of the things I was really intentional about when I created my first journal. It's a self-care, it's the ultimate self-care journal for the intentional believer, you know, and everything that you just said, ladies, this whole list that I've been going down, it's packed into that journal, you know, being present, staying in gratitude, setting your intentions for the day. You know, it even has a water tracker to make sure you're staying hydrated. You know, we drink water and
Oh.
mind our business over here. That make you live longer.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I know you have a new business, a new announcement, and so want to give you this, give you your flowers, give you your opportunity to announce that here.
Yeah. So I'm so excited. This is my first like debut telling somebody else about it besides my bestie.
Woohoo.
So in the next couple of weeks, I will be launching a new book. It's my very first devotional. It's called Divine Appointments. It too is for the intentional believer, and so I was really in deep prayer about it. You know, I took time to just really be still. I kind of shut everything down, and Spirit was really speaking, and it was like, okay, this is the direction. And I heard divine appointments. 2024 will be the year of divine appointments. And
Mm.
so I believe that we all have a God-given purpose. And so I push purpose a lot on my channel. I push purpose a lot in everything that I do because I want people to really be able to tap into that purpose. You know, your career path may not necessarily be your God-given purpose. You understand? So it's so important for us to find what our purpose is, you know? And so
Yes.
with divine appointments, like I said, it helps the intentional believer with basically growing in faith, strengthening your relationship with God, and strengthening your relationship within yourself, your own belief. You know, oftentimes I hear one of the scriptures that's highly misquoted, faith without works is dead. We put this emphasis on the works as if we're supposed to be physically working, always physically working. A lot of the work is the believing part. That's the
Mm.
hardest work, is the believe.
You
So
better know it.
when you put yourself in a position to really walk this faith walk, you'll find that sometimes it's hard to even believe. And so that devotional will help people get closer in their belief, get closer in their relationship with God, and really just put them in a position to be in the right place at the right time for those divine appointments.
Nice.
Oh,
Nice.
very nice, very nice. And so does your new show basically kind of elaborate on the book? Talk to us about your new show and perhaps how the book and the show work together.
Absolutely. Well, I talk about my current journal that I have, which is the Reset to Restore, and on there. And then I also have the affirmation cards as well that I do. And that's one of the tools that I use every day for myself, you know, just speaking positivity into myself. And so
Mm-hmm.
the ideal behind Out the Box Talk, this has been something that has, you know, how have you ever had something that's kind of just been on your heart to do forever and you kind of
Mm.
put it off? Out the Box Talk was one of those things for me. Like, I've had the vision for Out the Box Talk forever. I even had like the social media handles before it was even any content for the show.
Wow.
And so this year, doing the Fab Chicks podcast and kind of assisting you ladies with your corporate IQ, it gave me the fire that I needed to go ahead and step out and do my own solo project. And so
Yay.
it's really a platform that I use to, one, give God glory, to two, be about kingdom business. You know, we talk faith talk, we talk real talk. It's real and raw. It's really the essence of who India Nicole is. You know, like,
Yeah.
I'm not. I can't Tangiel tell you I'm not this like super religious holy roller person, but you know, I'm practical, but at the same time I have big faith. And, you know, so I speak to the remnant of God and we talk about real life issues, you know, they're not dressed up. They're real life issues, And so
Yeah.
that was the whole ideal behind the show. I just kept hearing real talk, real and raw talk for the remnant of God. And
Yeah.
so I have so many different topics from talking about distractions and how we can become distracted, talking about long suffering. That's something that I feel like I've endured this year long.
Mm.
So many different topics. And it's kind of one of those things that I like to say is led by the Spirit. I don't just necessarily have a list of topics to talk about. During my quiet time and my prayer time, I may hear, hey, talk about this. Like my next show will be about grief. I know a lot of people, this holiday season, a lot of people are grieving, and it's really
Yes.
rough around this time of the year. And so God really laid it on my heart to speak to his people about grieving and how, he mends broken hearts. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Awesome. Isn't that
wonderful,
great?
wonderful. I think, India is such a perfect example of um, what folks can do. It's inspiring to know that you can take adversity, because I want to say that finding yourself in a corporate space when you've dedicated 17 years to a space and finding yourself in a position where you're not comfortable or something's not right is tremendous adversity. So to pivot that or to create an opportunity out of that to move into your purpose, or for other folks, if moving into your purpose is not what you want to call it, if you want to call it doing what you want to do instead of being
Yes.
told what to do or moved into something that wasn't quite you, that's an opportunity then, and you took the opportunity to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. She's pursuing her passion.
I am. I am. I really
Mm-hmm.
am. And it's the text messages or the comments that I get, because you ladies kind of know me, and I'm pretty sure most people will meet me and say, "Oh, India is extroverted and she's a talker." And listen, I like to be behind the scenes. I do not even like being in front of the camera. I really don't. I don't even like big
Right.
space. But I am pushed out of my comfort zone with everything that I'm doing. And so that's one thing that I learned this year alone, that, great things happen outside of your comfort zone. I could have
Mm.
Oh,
easily been comfortable in a corporate setting. I could do that
mm.
in my sleep, just comfortable. But God pushed me out of my comfortable space and made me super uncomfortable, and I'm really being pruned for greatness. And so, it's a
Yes.
crushing that occurs during that process on your way to success and greatness. And so, more than anything, I'm not after success, I'm after impact. I want to make an impact
Oh,
for the kingdom of God. I want to see people heal, set free, living their best life truly, not just posting it on the gram. I'm talking about truly walking and living their best life.
Yes.
You said, Lachez, this has been a difficult year. I want to encourage people to have joy, even in the midst of
yes, yes.
sorrow. Because happiness, we oftentimes we think, oh, we have to be happy, or God wants me to be happy. Where does that exist? Happiness is an emotion just like any other emotion. It's based on happenings, what's happening in your life. But joy is something that is unremovable. If you have joy, you cannot be moved in those situations. Even if you are experiencing sadness, you still have joy to fall back on. And there is a
Yep.
peace that surpasses all understanding when you truly operate in joy.
Yes,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm
absolutely.
about to get out my seat right now. My knee is shaking right now. My knee is shaking.
It's
I
so
love it.
important and it's universal. Like again, I just have to keep
It
saying that
is.
these are universal things,
They are.
regardless of what faith you believe in. This is universal. Anyone
Absolutely.
can
Yes.
apply these. Joy is universal,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to define what success is for yourself as well. So as
Right.
you're
Yes.
taking a step back from things, what does that even mean to you? What is
Yeah.
evaluate your values and what success means? It might not be the money. It might not be some of the things that you were kind of killing yourself to obtain. right? What is
Yes.
it? What truly does success mean? Doesn't have to be kind of moving up through a hierarchy necessarily, or getting to the next title and these types of things. It's like you have an opportunity now to understand truly what success means to you,
Correct.
not someone else that's given it to you or told you what success should be for you or for someone else, and this is what it looks like. Who are they to define that for you?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
India, I would love for you to also tell them about your cupcake business. I mean, the holidays are near. I'm
Yeah.
sure you need orders. Come on.
Yes. So I have been dibbling and dabbling in baking for a very long time. As I said earlier, my grandmother, who I watched for years, coming up, bake cakes, cater. So I really have a love and passion for cooking. I say what sets my cupcakes or my dishes apart is the love I infuse in those ingredients. And so
Yes.
in 2000 and I want to say 2009, I had two kids, like two small kids. My son was probably 3 and my daughter was like 1 at the time. And I started back school full time. And I was like, you know what? I need a side hustle. I need something that's gonna, bring in some coins. And so I started baking. And my ex-husband at the time, he was on board, and he had all the guys at Pepsi warehouse ordering my cupcakes, so I stayed busy baking. And so throughout the years, it's kind of been like a on and off. People get mad, like, you are you really not baking anymore? When I moved away. But yes, the name of my mobile bakery is J&L Craving Confections. Since
Ooh.
then, it's kind of evolved where I brought my kids on board. And so the J and the L is for Jaden in London Craving Confection. It is a business that they pretty much run now. So we get a lot of the high school students and teachers. We just did a pop-up shop at the school. It was very successful. We sold out. But like our biggest seller is like the red velvet. We had red velvet cupcakes,
Mm.
sweet potato cupcakes, and
Oh my
just
Ooh.
any type of flavor you can think of. And so we pretty much do like direct order. We also do events. We kind of really specialize in like events, birthday parties. We don't really do like the smaller orders. So we don't bake every day and just have cupcakes sitting around. That would be bad for everybody in this house. I would probably be on. But no, we do pre-orders, and we also do parties and things like that.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. I think that's all the questions I had for you. The one thing I do want to say is that, India, you have such a fantastic spirit. I think that takes you, as you already know,
Hmm.
so far, but it really transfers through the screen. I think the listeners will be able to just feel it. You're just a genuine person, just a great spirit. So thank you
No,
so much for being here with us.
thank you so much for having me and for your kind words. I really appreciate it. I really do. And I just want to say to your corporate IQ listeners, just this last thing, take care of yourself. Take really good care of yourself. Be mindful, be present, stop and just give yourself room to dream, room to grow and
Yes.
evolve, because you can do it. You really can. You really can. I don't care what's going on in your life. You have the ability on the inside of you to persevere. And so I just want to encourage you on today to do just that.
Yay.
Wonderful.
I love
Wonderful.
it. I love it. I just love our guests. Our guests are just thebomb.com. Aren't they just awesome, Lachez?
All of them, all of them, all of them.
So
Beautiful people.
yes, India, please tell us and tell our listeners how they can get a hold of you for your book, for your cupcakes, for your coaching and your guidance, all of it.
Absolutely. My website is indianicole.com. You'll find more so of as far as the virtual assistant digital marketing packages there. You also can purchase the journal there. The journal, it's called The Ultimate Reset to Restore. It's available on Amazon. And then as far as the self-care products that I have, the box will be available on my website within the next month or so. This box has a candle, it has holy wood for smudging and burning, prayer oil, and also affirmation cards. Just the ultimate self-care kit for you to just really be intentional about, growing in faith and just growing as a person, period. And then on IG, you can follow me at Out the Box Talk. I also have India Nicole Unlimited. And if you really want to be nosy and get to know me, you can follow me at Miss India Nicole on my personal page.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, this has been wonderful, as you stated, Lachez. I feel great, and I didn't even, I said I wasn't wearing pearls, but if you look behind me, I hung the pearls on my Pumbaa back there. So she's representing.
Ready.
Well, I know, ready. So listeners, hey, remember to stay tuned for more of our episodes here at your Corporate IQ podcast. We're interested in hearing from you. Send us your topics, your suggestions, and your comments. We'd love to hear how some of these tips may have touched your life. You can reach us at info@yourcorporateiq.com. You can like us as well, engage with us on YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and the list goes on and on. But until next time, thank you for tuning in and see you later.
And happy holidays.
Happy holidays, yes.
High, low, close or open toe. You be looking good when you rock 'em, so put your heels on, girl. Them heels on, lady. Hit your ground hard, you drive me crazy. Palms get sweaty, I'm imagining things. When I see what reality brings, I get choked from your vision of comparable. So dumb, man, I could write a parable. Killing when I go back to my rap hole living. Michelangelo, you on the ceiling.